Hey guys, you got Black Star here. Today we're going to talk about sampling on the Deluge. So yesterday I did a video where we discussed sampling on the PO133, which is just a really impressive little device, a little sampler that you can fit in your pocket. There's a lot of power in this tiny little $90 thing. This is the Street Fighter version of the KO, which is the PO33. This is the 133. They're both the same thing. The only difference being the 133 has the Street Fighter branding with a Street Fighter screen. And then the presets and the patches that come with it are Street Fighter based. Anyway, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about sampling on the Deluge. It is just about as easy as sampling is on the 133. But obviously it being a much more expensive sort of professional all-in-one piece of hardware, you've got some more options when it comes to sampling within this device. When I was looking into sampling on the Deluge, there weren't a lot of videos out there. Like you, probably because you're watching this right now, I like someone to show me how to do it, not just read through a manual on how to do it. Unfortunately, though, there aren't a lot out there, and the ones that I did find, while very informative, very well shot, tended to be on previous firmware versions of the Deluge, so not everything was quite the same. This Deluge right now is on 3.1.1. and so should be relevant for your current firmware. So I'm going to go over a few types of sampling in the Deluge. We're going to go over sampling into song view, so taking a whole sample of a piece of music or spoken word or just whatever. So a longer stretch of a sample and putting that in your song view so you can use that in your performances. We'll go over recording into the arranger view. So after you've made your arrangement of your entire track in arranger view, how do you say you decide you want to add in some vocals or a guitar, bass, or just some samples from, movies, real life, whatever, to kind of fill out that track, how to do that. Then we're going to talk about using a sample to create a synth voice and using a sample to create, or samples to create a drum kit. I figure what better way to do this than use pocket operators, particularly the one that samples. Pocket operators can make some great sounds, and it's kind of cool to take those sounds from your pocket operator, put it in the Deluge where you can do even more with them. A couple things. So one thing, I'm using a 14-inch laptop stand for the Deluge. I think this was like $40, and it's really, it's pretty cool. It fits the Deluge perfectly. It goes with that wood aesthetic. It keeps it kind of up and angled, which I find easier to work with. Sort of a tip is when you're looking for stands and little things for your various audio hardware, try to find something that isn't made for music, because it seems to me that when a manufacturer or designer knows it's going to be made for music, they're going to double the price tag on it. So if you can find things that are for other stuff, like this is just a 14-inch laptop, and any 14-inch laptop stand will work. You can certainly find cheaper ones on any shopping website. But I have a stand for the pocket operators I use that's actually just a wooden book stand that you can prop a book open with, and it was like $15. Or I was looking at pedal boards and different stuff like that, and it just gets kind of crazy. So just a little pro tip for you. Also, always print out your manuals or keep your manuals if you get your device with a printed manual. It's so much easier when you're trying to figure this stuff out to be able to flip through quickly or use the index instead of trying to go back and forth on your phone or your computer. You can bookmark the pages, write little notes to yourself in there. So I highly recommend that. The stand is also nice because I can just slide my manual in there, and then I always have my manual handy when I'm working with my Deluge. So let's get started with importing a sample into SongView. Unplug this. You will need, if you're doing line inputs, you need some sort of audio cable. I recommend, if you don't have a lot of these adapters for different sizes, I have like 2.5 to 3.5, 3.5 to the 1/4 inch. These are a lot cheaper than buying a lot of cables, and then you always know you have a way to attach whatever you're trying to attach to whatever you're trying to attach it to. So we're going to start in SongView. We have our first song, or our first sort of clip row is activated. This is how you'll see it when you first turn on the Deluge. So we are going to first turn this clip, which is set as a synth currently. We want to turn this into an audio clip. So we're going to hold down anywhere on this empty clip row. Be sure you're holding it down though, and that it's empty. And then I'm going to press the select button. And now you'll see it switch to audio 1, which lets me know that this is going to be an audio in clip. Now we need to tell it how we want it to import the sound. So I'm going to hold down learn input, and I'm going to press anywhere on this open clip. So what this is telling me right now is that it's importing the left channel only with no monitoring. If I turn it right, it's going to add a period. Anytime you see this period, that denotes that it's going to monitor what is going on in this clip, which means you're going to be able to hear it. If that period isn't there, even though sound is inputting into the Deluge, it's not going to play it back to you, so you're not going to hear it. So if you're having issues when you're doing this and you're playing your music or trying to get something in and you're not hearing anything, make sure this little period is selected. I'm going to move it over to stereo with the dot, and that will tell me that it's going to import sound as stereo and give me monitoring. Once that's there, you can press anywhere to go back. So if nothing is in the line in, the Deluge will default to the internal mic. The internal mic it's actually decent. On my Hello's Other People track, that's what I use to record the vocal samples for that. So it's not a bad in a pinch recording device. Obviously, if you're recording your vocals, it's not ideal. It isn't bad though. It does tend to pick up a lot of background noise. So if there's a TV on in the other room, you got kids running around, keep that in mind. If you're going to record with this and you want just an isolated sound, it can be difficult unless you're in a very quiet space. So we are going to record a line in though, and I can show you with the mic. So we'll record one with the mic first, and then we'll move to line in, even though it's going to be largely the same. So when I'm ready to record, I'm going to hold down the record button, and this is going to flash magenta. This is telling me that this clip is empty and it's ready to record. If I press it again, it goes a solid green. That says this clip will not be recorded into. So if you have multiple audio clips and you're recording, this is a way to keep it from recording over other clips, or preserving this clip. So this clip will not allow anything to record into it. If I press it again, it's going to flash red. Flashing red means that it's ready to record. You can record into it. It will mute on overdub though. I don't use overdub, so I don't know a lot about it. What I've read, it's maybe not the most efficient way to work within the Deluge, but if you do overdub, this is what you want if you want the track to mute when you are overdubbing. So let's just stick it with magenta as the default. I'm going to press record. Now it's lit red, which means it's ready to record. And I'm going to press play when I want it to record. Recording, test, recording. When I'm done, I can hit record to stop the recording and hit play to stop altogether. Now I have this track. You can see, if you go into the track, you can see the actual waveform. Ooh, there's some good feedback. So, mic isn't great. If you want to preserve the waveform as it is, if you want to use it for other things, for instance, you can scroll all the way to the end. If you hit the last column on the last tail end of the wave, it will bring up this red flashing bar. Once that is up, you can tap anywhere, and that is going to stop that recording there and not play all the way through. So wherever you put this is going to be where the tail ends. So if you want to edit the actual waveform that's been saved to the Deluge, you would hold Shift and press waveform here. Now you can edit the front and the back. So whichever one is flashing is going to be the one that is going to move wherever you put it. So I can move it around here. I can change the start point here. Okay, so that's very handy if you want to just grab a snippet of whatever you recorded. Wherever it is, when you're done with it, you hit back and it will stay there. If you want to, I'm going to plug in a line in just to eliminate that feedback we're getting. All right, so if I want to shorten or lengthen the clip, which will essentially change the pitch of it as well, I can hold Shift and stretch it out. Or shorten it. All right. And there you go. We can do another one. If you're doing a second one, we'll use a line in this time. So because the first track is monitoring line in, I don't need to set up subsequent clips with the stereo monitoring, because that first track is my monitoring track. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to hold down the pad. We're going to learn input. It's stereo. I don't need monitoring on this clip because I have it up here. So I'm going to leave it to stereo, but just know that if you want to change whether it's left or right, this is where you would do it. You could just change it like we did before. And then we're going to hold down record. This is flashing magenta, but it's a dim magenta, which means that it's not going to allow it to record over it. This is flashing full magenta, which means this is the track I'm going to record into. It's the same process. However, there's going to be a couple things that have changed. First of all, it's probably going to count me in if I have that set up, which I do. So when I hit record and play, it's going to give me a 4-count beat to play me in because I already have something there. So that's just a way of it helping you make sure you're keeping in with the beat that the pre-recorded track is on. Secondly, when I'm done, instead of hitting play or record to stop it, I'm going to press this launch pad or mute pad, however you want to refer to it as, and then let it finish the loop. And that will save it into this clip. So we will start this. There's my count in. And that's it. Okay, so that is it with song view. We will move on to arranger view, which is basically the same thing. You're going to want to set up your audio clip you want to record in song view by once again holding down the pad, pressing select for your audio 1, verify that it's set to the correct pan that you want it to be set to, the correct input. Now if I go to my arranger view, it's going to be this bottom one right here. I'm going to hold record. In arranger view, when you hold record and it dims, it means it can't be recorded into. If it flashes red, it means that it's armed and ready to record. Those are really the only two options. So now this is flashing red. I've got it ready to record. I'm going to press record, move to a different, and we will hit play. When we're done, we hit record. And it's that easy. So you can add in your other tracks and clips just as you would an arranger. You can wait till arranger view is completed and then add it in. But that's really it. You know, it couldn't be more simple than that. Okay, we are going to start over with a new workspace, and now we're going to do sample-based synth voices and sample-based drum kits. We will start with a sample-based synth voice. So you'll need to be in clip mode, which should be denoted by nothing on here and all these lit up, these representing an octave. So to start a new synth, I'm going to shift synth. You'll see it says new. And now this will just be a single, generally like a sine oscillator, no effects, nothing to it. Right? So let's add our synth voice, our sample we want to work with. So we're going to press the select button, which will take us into our menu. When we're on oscillator 1, we're going to press select again. Type. This allows us to change the type of the source for the oscillator. So we have 3 triggers, pulse, volume. Now we're going to do record is what we're looking for because we want to record a sample. We're going to hit select again. You're going to see the record flashing over here. This will say bot top. What that means is bottom to top. What that means is it's going to take your sample and it's going to adjust the speed of it to change the pitch along everything. So you're not sampling for every single note. You're sampling one note and it's going to automatically adjust the speed of that clip to accommodate all notes. So yes, that's what we want. Let's change that. And then we're going to hit select again, and now it's recording. And that's all I need. So you press your note. When you're done, you hit record again. It's going to take you back to bot top. We don't need to re-record or anything. I'm fine with that. So I'm going to hit back. I'm going to back all the way out of this menu. And now we're back to our normal clip view. And we're going to have our sample. So you're going to hear silence at first because I didn't hit the note right away. So it's recording from the second it said recording. So, but if I hold the note down, eventually we get that, which is great that we know we got the recording fine, but not good if we actually want to play with it. So let's adjust the sample. Let's trim up the sample. I'm going to hold shift and waveform, so it's right here, and this is going to take me into the waveform of that sample I just captured. Green flashing again denotes the start of the clip. Red denotes the end of the trim or the clip. So we're going to go green. I'm going to move it over to where I see the waveform peak or spike. I'm going to move the red closer to where the waveform ends. I want to get a closer view because I don't think I probably got as close as I can to the beginning and end of that sound. So I'm going to push down on my left-right selector, and I'm going to move it to right, and that's going to zoom in on this waveform. I can now move my red, which is my end, closer, and go to the left and get my start right on the start of that waveform. So now if I audition, and that's what we're looking for. If I want to, let's move out a little bit. If I want to loop within this sample. So currently, if I press a pad or if I'm in the actual clip view putting down notes, it's going to play and end. So even if I have the note extend all the way over, it's going to end when the sample ends. If I want this to loop so I can pull that note as a sustain all the way across, I can set up a section of this sample, a sample of the sample, if you will, as a loop. So the loop start point I can create by holding down the green flashing bar and pressing anywhere. Now I have a turquoise flashing bar, and that's going to be the start of my loop, which isn't going to do anything because I don't have the end to my loop. So to get the end, I hold down the red bar and press anywhere to get a sort of magenta bar. And I can move that around and adjust my loop length. And you can even go way into the waveform if you want to, which will give you some interesting sort of oscillator-like sounds if you do that. Let me show you here. So you can get some kind of funky stuff if we put them. So you get like almost an FM kind of... Anyway, if you say, yeah, I'm not feeling that, you can hold down the column. These might be too close together now. You can hold down this column and press the loop point that the column corresponds to again, and that will pull that up. And then you just have your regular sound. Cool, right? Right. Okay. So that is your oscillator clip. Or I'm sorry, that is your sample-based synth voice. Now I'm going to show you something that you need to be aware of when using samples as synth voices. For that, we're going to use the arcade. If you want to save, if you like the synth voice you've created, you want to save it, all you have to do is save, synth. So all this is save and synth are flashing. Now you can use the onboard keyboard to name that synth voice whatever you want it, and it's going to save it into your Deluge. All right, so let's do a new clip with a new synth. So if I want to, this is one of my favorite sounds on the arcade. It's just this nice little sort of chiptune delay thing, right? So let's say I want to pull that in as a synth voice to use on the projects I work on my Deluge. Again, it's the same process. We're going to press select, go into our oscillator. We're going to go to record, bottom top, record. play our recording, stop, back out of the submenu, shift waveform, adjust our trim, zoom in to fine tune our trim. There we go. We'll go with that. So you probably just heard what I'm going to talk about, and that is this note sounds similar to the arcade. This note an octave higher does not sound so much. The delay is much shorter than this, which if you're trying to put together a track or song, that can be sort of distracting and not what you want. The reason this happens is because when you have an oscillator-based synth voice, your device is using the frequency changes on that oscillator to control the pitch. So it's either speeding up or slowing down the frequency on that waveform, which is either increasing or decreasing the pitch. Once that sound is created, then it's adding in your delays, your reverbs, your effects. When you're using a sample as the oscillator, it's taking, and that sample has delays, reverbs, and effects in it, it's taking all of that as the source sound. So when it gets sped up, all of those effects are getting sped up with the sound or slowed down with the sound, which is giving you that change in the delay and making the notes sound not terribly consistent. So when you're using a sample as a source for a synth voice, you definitely want something clean, as clean and clear as possible, so you're not getting that. The beauty of a device like the Deluge is you can add all that stuff in afterwards. So if you can get a clean version of the sound you want without the delays and effects processing, you can pull it in as a sample for a synth voice and then add that stuff after the fact, which I'm going to show you right now. So we'll get out of here, we'll make our new track. Fortunately, with the arcade, this, which is key 16, is actually just a delayed version of key 15. So I'm going to pull in key 15 and then use the effects processing in the Deluge to turn that into key 16. So we're going to get a new synth. We're going to go in our submenu, oscillator 1, record, bottom to top. We're going to record that. That's recorded. Back out of the menu again. Shift, waveform, adjust trim. Oh, I accidentally. Sorry about that. There we go. So you'll notice that this sound is consistent basically up and down the scale because there's no processing, there's no one-off sounds that were with it. It was just a solid note. So what I'm going to do to get that delay is, there's two ways I can sort of do this. In the waveform, I can adjust using the processing within the Deluge, which is how I will do this one. So I'm going to go to my delay. I'm going to bump up my delay amount, my delay time, we'll try that. We got some delay from the last one, sorry about that. And there we go. So this is what 16 sounds like on the pocket operator. this is what the sound we just created using 15 sounds like on the Deluge. So a little bit of a disparity in the delay I can adjust, but I mean I can adjust the amount until if I need it to be exactly the same time, I can continue to adjust the delay time and the delay amount to get it there. But for the intents and purposes of this demonstration, I think we've achieved what we were looking for. Let's bump up some. Yeah, I think most of the time, all the pocket operator sounds need is a little bit of reverb to really fill them out, and everything just sounds great on them. So very rarely do I play one without it attached to some sort of reverb, and with this you can just add that into the sound after you've sampled it. And then you can go back and go ahead and make your song. Other things you can do, I won't get too into because you can just spend hours if you want diving, but with the Deluge, holding shift and going into the different menus on the key, so you have the voice menu, which you can add portamento, polyphony, priority, you can add unison, low pass filters, you can add arpeggiation, turn down the rate of that, and then we're gonna give it, let's do 3 octaves, and I clicked too soon, and we're gonna do, let's do random. And then now I've taken that sample, turned it into a synth voice, added reverb, delay, and arpeggiated it. If you want to get more into the reverb than just using the standard reverb up here, you can go into the reverb menu and adjust your amount. You can add a pan, the width of the reverb. Oops, sorry about that. I forgot to hit the key. We'll do the width of the reverb, which is already maxed. But if you want to bring that in a little bit, you can. Dampening, which with as much as I have going on, it's kind of hard to hear. Change your room size. So anyway, there's a ton you can do to take that sample and really shape it into something, whatever you're looking for. Sampling is a great way to create sounds that are unique to you. Recently, I deleted all the preset patches that came with the Deluge. As I'm working through my musical journey, I'm finding less is more in a lot of ways. So instead of spending, the limited amount of time I have to make music, digging through 400 patches that other people have made, it sort of made more sense for me to dive into the sampling and make my own unique patches. That way I have a smaller number to look through if I'm looking for some inspiration to make a piece of music. And if I don't find what I'm looking for, I have the tools, and now you have the tools to make those things that I'm looking for instead of trying to rely on what other people have done or what they're doing. So next we will move into a drum kit. I'm going to switch back to the Street Fighter, the PO133, because I really like the included drum kit in Bank 13. And we will go ahead and make our drum kit out of sampling. So much like the synth voice, I'm going to hold shift. This time I'm going to hold kit. So it's going to default pull in the last thing you've recorded when you create a new kit. I don't want that, so I'm just going to hit back. And it's going to ask me to record again. You can start a recording there. I'm just going to hit back. So we have one thing in our kit. It might be the last recording. It looks like it's probably nothing though. So to add, and we're going to build this up, but the difference between synths and kits is a synth is doing that bottom to top where it's going to take a sample and change the speed of it to spread the pitches up and down the scale. A kit is going to preserve that sample in its original form and assign it to an individual pad over here on the right. So to record into this pad to assign what I want in this, so we're just going to go straight 1 to 16 here. So we got like a little snare. I'm going to hold down the audition pad and I'm going to press the record button and I'm going to press what I want to record. I'm going to go into the waveform just like we did with the synth. I'm going to move the start and the end over and then zoom in and get that. That was probably too much. And then try to get this nice and tight. Okay, that's good. Again, you can add reverb, change the volume levels, change pan, attack, everything to this waveform that's going to save into this specific snare in this specific kit. So these changes won't happen to your whole kit. When you're in the waveform, it's just this one specific sample in this one kit. So when I'm done with that, feel good about that. Let's give it a little reverb. So that's right there. When you hold it down, it's going to say recording 1. That's the default. But that's not descriptive for me. Let's go ahead and change the name of that. So the last one I auditioned is going to be the one the name change will apply to. So I'm going to hold Shift and press name, which will bring up my keyboard. I'm going to press the delete button there and I'm just going to call it snare. When I'm done, I'm going to hit the green, which is enter. And now when I press that, it says snare. I'm not going to do that for the rest of them right now because you don't need to see me rename every single one. But just know, everyone, whichever one was the last one you auditioned is the one that you can change the name. We're going to go up, same thing. I'm going to hold the audition pad. I'm going to press record. I'm going to press number 2 now. And then we're going to go into the wavetable, move that in. Done. Hold audition 3, record, hit 3, go in the wavetable, move that in. Done. So see how easy this is? You can get a whole, basically 16 tracks of or 16 banks of a pocket operator in probably about 10 minutes. So I could finish doing the rest of it, but you've seen it's the same thing over. You're just moving up, pressing audition, press record, press your button, press record or back, shift waveform, trim your waveform, add any effects you want to it, hold shift, audition it, shift, name it what you want it, move on with your life. When you're done, you're going to do save kit and type in your name, and that will assign the kit a name. So when you go through your kit menu like this, it's not all different. So you can see that's the PO20. PO20, because it's a lot of effect stuff, it's good for kits. So this, and in this case, I just assigned what number on the PO to the pad. So this is number 10 on the arcade. And then added some reverb. So there's that delay. Again, because this is a kit and not a synth, you can pull in stuff that has that effect because it's not changing the speed of it, so it's not going to alter the overall sound as opposed to the original sound. So in 16, I was able just to pull that in as it is. The disadvantage being you can't pitch shift. So what you get is what you get in a kit. If you need to create sort of a tonal range from a sample, synth voice sampling is the way to go with that. And with that, again, you want clean sounds. A great resource, check out YouTube. If you're looking for, say, a grand piano, violin, a lot of traditional instruments, on YouTube, you can typically find videos that are very well recorded, very clean, of single notes from those instruments, which make a great basis for a sample, for a synth voice that you can then take and add effects and different sound shaping things to. If you want to do samples of vocals from like a movie, you want to snippet from a famous line from a movie, you know, Kit's definitely the way to go for that. You can go ahead and slice that up into single words, use the full phrase, use a number of phrases. There's a lot to do. Sampling is really going to take your Deluge, or honestly anything you have that samples as a music producer, an electronic musician. Samples really just open up the doors to make that music yours and drive that unique sound that you want to produce. So that being said, that's really it for sampling on the Deluge. We went over if you want to throw a sample in a song, so in a live performance you can pepper that in. If you want to do it in Arranger view, if you've got a whole song that you've already recorded and you want to add something to that, you can do that in Arranger view without having to re-record the whole thing. We went over our synth voice with using the sample as the basis, and then our kits. So as always, I hope you found this helpful, informative. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them below. If you like what I'm doing, you want to see more, please give me a like and subscribe if you can. Anything is greatly appreciated. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a great day.